SE Talk Sports, today we're talking boxing. Proudly joined for the first time on the channel by Ellis Zorro. How are you doing today, Ellis?
Good, man. Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me. Now I feel good. Yeah, man.
So obviously, massive fight week here. You're arguably one of the biggest fight cards in history. How does it feel to be a part of history?
Oh, it feels great, man. Like, obviously, when you get into boxing, this is kind of what you want. You want big fights, but to be like, this is probably the biggest card in history. Like, every fight could be a main event. Do you know what I mean? And from where I come from, like the area I come from, and like my journey in boxing, from small hall boxing, from York Hall to Saudi, it's just like, it's massive. So yeah, no, I'm really grateful to be here. I'm really happy to be on this card.
And speaking of your boxing journey, I was actually there in Manchester when you won those 3 fights in one night. What's it like, you know, as you say, coming from these small hall shows, obviously, you know, still making a name for yourself, putting on good performances, but, you know, to be now at the pinnacle?
Like, I feel like I've inspired a lot of people from where I come from. I feel like I've proved a lot of people wrong. I thought I wouldn't kind of get to this level. In my honest opinion, this level has like come probably a little bit sooner than I would have anticipated. I thought it would be like another 18 months before I was here, but this is what happens when you kind of stay ready, and I've been putting in the work and performing well, and I won the WBO European title, and that's opened these doors to put me in this position now.
And you say it's a bit earlier than you anticipated, but are you still prepared for, you know, for a big task ahead?
Yeah, I just mean in terms of like having a world title fight, I didn't know it would be like this soon. Opataya wasn't necessarily on my radar, and I know I wasn't on his. But yeah, in terms of like, I'm going into the ring to win. I'm an undefeated fighter. I plan myself hard in training, and that's how it goes. That's what it is.
And focusing a little bit more on Opataya, obviously an amazing opponent. What do you think he possesses most that is going to be the hardest thing to get around?
I think he's got I think he's good at everything, really. I don't really see any weaknesses. Like, his mindset is great, his attitude is great, he's a true fighter. You know, he wants to be like me, wants to be in these fights, he wants to be in big fights, wants to be challenged, wants to unify the division. He's got fast feet, he's got fast hands, he can take a punch, he's got good endurance. He's the full package, he's a great fighter. So it's good to kind of like test myself against him. You know, like where I come up in boxing is like, I didn't have the luxury of like turning down fights and, oh, you know, no, I don't want to take that fight. It was always like, you get what you're given. Do you know what I mean? And that's kind of the attitude. Even though I'm in a better position now than when I first started, that's the attitude I've always had. So I'm happy to be able to test my skills and be tested against the best of them. Yeah, 100%.
And many people have you as the underdog. Does that affect you in any way? Does it spur you on, or does it get you down, or?
No, like I've said this in a few interviews this week. Like, I was the underdog for the boxer. I was the underdog for Duck Scarman. I was the underdog for Jose Burton. I think with this one, because of the magnitude of the event, there's a lot more people with a lot more to say. And, you know, let's have it right. I wasn't really in conversations to be fighting for the IBF title, for the Ring Magazine champion. I wasn't in these conversations. So I think that's where not backlash, but that's where the comments come from. But they make sense. It doesn't get me down. Like, I'm in my own head. I'm on my own journey, man.
And as you mentioned there with the Ring Magazine and the IBF belts, there's, you know, obviously been a bit of controversy around that. Has that affected you at all?
Not really. It's a sad situation. It's not my situation to necessarily speak on, obviously, but like, if what I've read and what I've heard is true about breeders turning down the fight or pulling out of the fight, I think it's a bit wrong or unfair that they strip him. If there was other fighters that have been pulling out, I don't want to say names because I don't know for sure, but if there's other fighters that didn't want to take the fight, I'm hearing that Opataya has been ducked by a lot of guys. He should be able to fight. He should be able to stay, you know, active. And I think it's a bit unfortunate. I think if I can come out with the victory, although I won't have the belt, I will still be recognised as the guy that beat the guy. Do you know what I mean? So in a way, and and to be honest, like, the belts are just, do you know what I mean? Like, just items at the end of the day. Like, that's the number one in the division. Everybody knows that. Yeah.
So the fact that the belt's not on the line, it doesn't really get you down, like?
No, don't get me down. Like, I'm still on a big card. I'm still fighting the best in the division. Everything else I said previously is still true. Can still test myself. Can still like build my profile. This has done a lot for me. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So no, it doesn't get me down. So if I'm destined to be world champion, it will happen.
And then going into the fight, how do you see it going?
Not really sure. You know, like, obviously, like, he put on a great performance against Jordan Thompson in his last fight. I do think styles make fights. Like, me and Jordan are not the same. We're not built the same. He's a much bigger target than I am. So I don't really know. Like, Opataya, like I said, he possesses a lot of qualities. I think he's a boxer, though. I think he's a smart, intelligent boxer. You know what I mean? He's aggressive. but he's a smart, intelligent boxer. So I think it might be a bit of a boxing match. I don't really know. I'm just going to go in there and be smart and be sharp and take it from there.
Yeah. And finally, because I don't want to keep you for too long, have you got a message for anybody who's doubting you or any people that have been supporting you?
I just want to say to my supporters, thanks for supporting. Keep supporting, and tune in on Saturday night. It's going to be a great fight, great event.
Ellis, Zorro, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Cheers.